Well, things are heating up. The United States yesterday seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela as it's headed to Cuba. From what I've gathered, checking into this, rather rare occurrence, but this did happen back in early 2010s in the Middle East, but I don't think it's ever happened in like near America in the Western Hemisphere over here. But some kind of operation led by the Coast Guard supposedly, but an aircraft carrier was involved, so the Navy obviously also involved. Coast Guard and Navy. I'm going to try to splice the video in here as well so you can see what I'm talking about, but these guys pulled up in helicopters, boarded the ship, and seized the whole tanker ship. Wild thing to kind of watch, honestly. They declassified the video and just released it as something to like, hey, check the video out. And then Trump later came out in a press conference, little quick statement to say, hey, we seized the oil tanker, quite a large oil tanker, maybe the biggest one ever seized. So you know how he does this thing and got to exaggerate where he can, but I mean, if you've ever seen an oil tanker, it's not a small ship, I'll tell you that. Looking into it, it had like almost 2 million barrels of oil on it, so obviously a good chunk, worth a lot of money. This all comes on the back of Venezuela, U.S. tensions kind of rising in general in the area, and Trump and Maduro, who's the leader of Venezuela, the socialist Venezuela. I would say it's more akin to like, I think they go by social democracy, like socialist, democratic socialist type thing, socialist democracy, but it's more just like how it always ends up, it seems like, with a little bit of dictatorship sprinkled in there. Pretty sure this was the guy who, like, when, I can't remember when this was, but when Venezuela was having like a full-blown, like, not a famine, but there was no access to food and they were having all kinds of problems over there, and he pulls an empanada out of his desk and eats it while he thinks the camera's not on or something crazy. So obviously not the coolest guy. He's getting some support out of Putin, so take that for what you will. If you think Putin's a good guy, maybe you think this guy's a good guy, but overall I'd say Putin's not the greatest of all time, so not a good look overall. The U.S. is hiding kind of behind, they're seizing the ship because they say it's been sanctioned since 2022 under like terrorist involvement, moving oil to like known terror organizations and stuff in the Middle East. So that's their cover as of right now. More than that, I think it's more just, hey, we're trying to cut Venezuela off as far as their income. They make almost all their money off oil exports. That's their biggest export. That's where they get all their cash. And like I said, we're trying to like soft pedal right now. There's definitely some want for the regime change in Venezuela just to get Maduro out of there. And this is like early step, but a pretty big step in that direction. I've seen quite a bit of people saying it, and I would tend to agree. Like if somebody took a U.S. oil tanker and commandeered it, seized it, we would consider that an act of war. Venezuela kind of is hinting at that right now, but the problem is, whether you like it or not, the reality is the United States can kind of do whatever we want and get away with it, just because of the influence in military and stuff that we have compared to Venezuela. Now, is it an act of war? Overall, I think yes. Will Venezuela ever do anything about it? Probably not, because they can't. I mean, what can they really do? I mean, like I said, if they get some support from Russia and China or something like that, and they get some weapons, they could. What are you going to do? Declare war on the United States over an oil tanker? I mean, you're going to lose. You might put up a decent fight if you get supplied with weapons and stuff from everywhere else, but it's not really that much of a realistic proposition, in my opinion. Obviously, I don't want to go to war with Venezuela. I don't want any part of that. So I don't really like the idea of strong-arming people, but it's like, I don't know, can you prove the case? It's more like, in the PR sense, can you prove that it was worth the hassle type thing? So if you've been paying attention, we've also been running through this whole thing with these cartel boats and things like that all through the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, if you're calling it that, I guess, whatever. I don't know, is anybody still worried about that? I don't think so. Where the United States military is striking these drug running boats as they come across the Gulf towards America and saying like, hey, they're smuggling drugs, we're blowing them up. And people are like, hey, you can't just blow people up if you think they're smuggling drugs. They have a right to a trial and all this stuff. And it's like, I understand both sides here. Me personally, I lean more like, I don't know, everybody wants to act like it's the worst case scenario, but reality is, it's like, they're like, hey, this is a crime, it's murder. It's like, we're kind of at war with like the cartels in that sense. Like, I think it's kind of an easy PR win. It's not that hard to justify it. Like, obviously some people are gonna be pissed, but when you say like, hey, the ships have drugs on them, they're bringing fentanyl over, they're bringing cocaine over with fentanyl in it, whatever, and hundreds of thousands of Americans die from this drug every single year, and we're taking out a couple hundred people that are smuggling drugs over here. I don't think it's that hard to justify it. It seems so far to not like blown up in their face. Me personally, like, yeah, I mean, if they're smuggling drugs over, I think it's, the people are like, we can't prove it. It's like, dude, they're dropping packages in the water as they use speedboats that have 4 offboards on the back, and they're flying. They're not like poor fishermen or anything like that. Whether you should blow them up or not, who knows? But it's definitely the most quick way to get it over with, to be like, hey, keep fucking bringing the drugs over here, and we're just gonna blow the boat up. I don't know if it's working or not yet. I haven't seen any figure on that or not, but the people who would already be pissed are pissed, and everybody else doesn't really care, I think. I don't know. You can let me know what you think about it, but this doesn't really bother me that much. Not really the slightest, to be honest. The regime change thing and the step up of the oil tanker seizure, though, is like, if the blowing up speedboats with cartel and drugs, cartel personnel on them, and drug smuggling and shit is down here, the oil tanker is like a big step up towards like act of war type thing. Like I said, I don't think they're going to do anything about it. We'll see where it goes. I hope they don't do anything about it. It'd be nice if you can just, I mean, America's known for just flexing a little muscle on somebody and like being like, hey, we run shit around here and we normally get away with it. Don't always get away with it, but that's kind of just is what it is. That comes with being the global superpower, I guess, and we use it in a variety of ways. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I disagree. In this case, to be honest, I don't have that much of an opinion because I don't know enough about Venezuela. I really don't give a shit about Venezuela or know anything about them. I don't know how much, besides the drugs coming over from Venezuela, I don't know why we really care that much. I mean, I know they export oil, but comparative to the Middle East and the U.S. production, it's not that much. So I don't know. I think it's more of a just like a, it's more of a political thing than it is like a power projection thing, I guess. To be honest, I'm removed, so I don't know. You tell me if you know a ton about the history between Venezuela and the United States, but it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal one way or the other. And I know Trump has, in like recent times, kind of turned back into this like the revival of the Monroe Doctrine, where it's like the United States is basically like, we run the Western Hemisphere. We can do whatever we want over here, and nobody can tell us anything different. I think the original Monroe Doctrine, if I remember right, was more about Europe and the colonies and things, but it's still like, we're the global superpower in general, us and China, basically, EU if you want to combine them all together, but we're basically saying, we're in this Western Hemisphere and we run all this shit, all of South America, Latin America, we can kind of do whatever we want and get away with it. That's the going policy. I don't know. You can disagree with it if you want, but that's kind of just the reality. I don't know if it has to be enumerated in a document or anything like that, but that's where we're at. I don't know if we're going to go full like boots on the ground war to Venezuela. I hope not, obviously. I don't think it'll take that. I think it'd be more like calculated strikes, and if they assassinated this Maduro guy, that's probably where it would head if it gets to that point. Obviously, I don't think that's ideal for global goings on and tensions and everything else, and especially if Russia wants to get involved or any of these other countries. But we got enough war going on with Ukraine still going, and plenty of Middle Eastern conflict. I don't think we need it this close to home, to be honest, but we'll see where it goes. So I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. I'd appreciate it if you leave a like on the video, subscribe, come back, and we'll watch as this situation develops, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.